call our home. From deserts to snowy mountains, as surely as the seasons change, through the passage of time, every inch of our world is, as it has always been, teeming with life, with creatures large and small. Join us in celebrating the mighty wilderness in Wild About. On the plains of Africa, in the jungles of Southeast Asia, far away from civilization and all things familiar, deep in the heart of the wilderness, if you put your ear to the ground and you feel an oncoming tremor, hear a distant pounding of earth and mud, chances are something big is approaching. Something of a scale seldom seen in history. A fabled legend. A gentle giant. The biggest beast to walk the earth. True giants, growing to sizes up to 13 feet tall, weighing over 15,000 pounds. Elephants are the biggest creatures on land today, dwarfed only by their long-lost giant ancestors, their cousins, the woolly mammoths, and the dinosaurs that came before them. The last surviving members of the order of Proboscidea. Elephants first evolved from primitive predecessors 60 million years ago in late Paleocene, who, prior to diverging into their own group, lived in the oceans. As large aquatic mammals related to the manatees and dugongs of today, elephant emerging only around the mid-Pliocene period 3 to 4 million years ago. Elephants retained only small signs of their aquatic ancestors in the anatomy of their middle ear and the internal testes of the male. Today, they are divided into two different genus, the African elephant and the Asian elephant, with the Asian elephant, or Elephas elephant, being notably smaller. With smaller ears, a convex or flat back, smoother skin, with patches of depigmentation, and with dorsal bumps on its head, while the African elephant, or Loxodonta elephant, being larger, with bigger ears, concave back, sloping abdomen, rough skin, and a flatter head. The African elephant is also further divided into two species, the forest elephant and the bush elephant, the differences being subtle, with the forest elephant being smaller, closer to the size of an Asian elephant, having straighter, harder, pink-tinted tusks, additional toenails on each foot, and rounded ears. The bush elephant being the more famous, the classic image of the African icon. Elephants can be found in environments as diverse as dry savannas, deserts, marshes, grasslands, lake shores, snowy mountains, and equatorial forests. Asian elephants typically prefer dry thorn scrub forests, while African elephants tend to prefer either open areas or denser tropical forests. Strictly herbivores, all elephants feed on leaves, shoots, grass, bark, twigs, roots, and fruits, using their giant, highly articulated trunks to collect it and bring it to their mouths, consuming up to 300 pounds of food per day and 40 gallons of water. Feeding takes place mostly during the morning and afternoon, with elephants resting when the sun is at its brightest during midday, staying in the shade of large trees, or even dozing off while standing. While longer sleep is at night, for as little as 3 hours a day. born with sterile intestines, they rely on intestinal bacteria to break down vegetation. Bacteria obtained by wallowing and eating their mother's feces while still young. As with other giant herbivores, elephants evolved to being their size to allow them to survive on vegetation with low nutritional value, relying on their trunk for most of their movement while their body remained stationary, to compensate for their increase in weight, and to give them additional height to easily reach the treetops and distant branches. Their legs grew longer and thicker, while their feet grew shorter and more massive, while their heads developed shorter mandibles in favor of the trunk. Highly flexible and made up exclusively of dense, powerful muscles, the trunk can be used for a multitude of tasks, including breathing, touching, grasping, digging, cleaning themselves and others, use as a snorkel when crossing large bodies of water, as well as giving the elephant a superior sense of smell, up to 4 times that of a bloodhound, and features 1 or 2 finger-like extensions at the tip of the trunk to allow for precision grabbing. As such, it is essential for an elephant's survival, with few surviving long with a damaged, paralyzed, or shortened one. As a result, the elephant's skull is among the most massive ones in the animal kingdom to be able to uphold the additional muscle weight, as well as added thickness of the skull and their massive tusks to allow not only for the digging for water and roots and debarking of trees, but also for head-to-head collisions in combat, partly for self-defense or in the defense of others, partly in ritual combat against other elephants, particularly among mature and dominant males who typically defend their role in the group with significant aggression. The skin of an elephant is also similar to the tough, thick skin of their aquatic relatives, though it is developed to withstand harsh, hot conditions as opposed to the corrosive salt water of the oceans. At its densest point, an elephant's skin may be up to 1 inch thick and is typically grayish in color, though African elephants commonly look darker and more brown due to their constant mud bathing to keep cool and provide protection from the harsh African sun, after which they use their trunks to blow dust onto its body, forming a protective crust when drying with the mud. To regulate temperature, the elephant's outer ear, or peni, is used, filled with numerous thin blood vessels or capillaries. The ear flaps are only covered in the thinnest parts of the elephant's skin, allowing for excess body heat to radiate out into the environment, an effect increased by the elephant's ability to flap their ears. The larger the ear flaps, the better suited the elephant is to a hot environment. When first born, elephant calves typically have concentrations of brown or reddish fur around their head and back, something which mostly disappears as they grow older, except for small bristles around the end of the tail, chin, genitals, and around the eyes and ears, to protect the vulnerable soft tissue from parasites, dust, and dirt. Due to the unusually straight posture and positioning of its legs, the elephant can be left standing for long periods of time without any sense of fatigue, with particularly the front legs capable of constantly sustaining 60% of the elephant's weight, as opposed to most quadrupeds. Because of their weight, elephants only have 2 modes of locomotion: walk and a slightly faster gait that could be called running. Due to the thick cushion pads of fatty tissue on the soles of the elephant's feet, the elephant's fast gait has a spring-like function that allows it to reach relatively high speeds of 11 miles per hour, while appearing to run only with their front legs, as well as generating comparatively little sound. Elephants are also highly capable swimmers, having been recorded to swim for up to 6 hours straight without touching ground or sea bottom. The brain of an elephant is considered small for its relative size, but remains nearly 4 times the size of a human brain, with the temporal lobes believed to process sensory input, so large that they bulge out at the sides. Similarly, an elephant's heart can weigh up to 45 pounds, yet beats only 30 times per minute. Elephants live in a fission-fusion-based society, often traveling in big herds for longer migrations, which are usually seasonal, splitting up into smaller groups or individuals when they've reached their target area. Most elephants travel around 12 miles per day, with some going as far as 10 times that, given their massive needs for vegetation. Highly matriarchal in structure, most groups are formed around an elder female and her female offspring, or cows, the eldest of which next in the line of succession. The family units are then part of a bigger clan of multiple families that group together during dry season migration. Among the families of the clans, 2 or 3 often commingle and form what are known as bond groups, with units in Asia being smaller than their African counterparts. The life of an adult male is very different by contrast, with mature males or bulls commonly staying in the fringes of the family group territory, as well as more frequently associating with outside males and other families, sometimes forced out entirely out of their family group, becoming solitary nomads or forming groups with other nomadic males, only associating with family groups when a fertile cow is present, usually detected by the release of pheromones, picked up by the male's powerful sense of smell. Adult males mature between 15 and 25 years of age, entering from there on a unique periodic state of elevated testosterone levels, up to 60 times the normal levels, leading to a sharp increase in virility, as well as aggressive behavior from the male. A state known as must, and is usually seasonal, is characterized by a fluid secreted from the temporal gland running down the side of the elephant's face, urinating on itself, swinging its head high back and forth, picking at the ground, and numerous threat displays, even towards females. While the estrus cycles of cows is not seasonally linked, but instead occurring in regular 16-week intervals throughout the year. Mating, however, will typically occur during the peak of the wet season, when most bulls go through must, during which the first attracted bull will engage in mate guarding, where they follow the cow around and defend them from other bulls. Prior to mounting the cow, the bull lays his trunk over the cow's back as a signal, after which the mating begins. It is typically brief and is repeated often until conception occurs. Gestation in elephants is typically very long and only involves single births, or at most twins, with pregnancies known to last around 2 years, and interbirth intervals being up to 5 years. Commonly born during wet season, calves are born around 33 inches in height, weighing around 260 pounds, thanks to the long gestation. Newborn calves are born highly developed, quickly gaining the ability to stand and follow the family herd, though the mother initially remains highly protective of the calf, not letting even immediate family near the calf for the first few days, until the newborn gains additional strength through breastfeeding. Newborns then often become the center of attention within the group. Adults and other young gather around, touching and caressing the newborn with their trunks, encouraging the close-knit family bonds, while the males often don't engage with their calves at all. Occasionally, in some groups, alloparenting takes place, with other, often younger females engaging in breastfeeding and nurturing the calves, until 3 to 6 months of age, at which point weaning starts, though calves often periodically breastfeed until 2 years of age to maintain growth. Young calves are often very playful among themselves, with females running and chasing each other, and male calves often play fighting. Calves are often disciplined through trunk slaps, gentle kicks, and shoves, as well as encouraged by gentle touching of the trunks, feet, or tails. As the main form of communication between elephants is through touching, individuals of any age often greeting each other by stroking or wrapping their trunks, as well as touching each other's mouths, temporal glands, and genitals to gather chemical information related to the well-being of the other individual, with additional communication occurring through the loud calls produced by the larynx and occasionally modified through the trunk, with the well-known trumpet sound produced when excited or distressed. Infrasonic calls are important for long-distance communication. Calls in the 14 to 35 Hz range are audible to other elephants up to 6 miles away, with the elephant's hearing adapted to hear frequencies as low as 1 Hz. Another form of communication is through seismics, with elephants impacting the ground to produce rhythmic vibrations. The recipients leaning forward to put their weight on their front legs, known as freezing behavior, enabling the transmission of vibrations through the legs and shoulders onto the middle ear through cartilaginous nodes, similar to the acoustic fat found in toothed whales and manatees. Relatively high in intelligence, elephants have exhibited mirror self-recognition, something only seen otherwise in some apes and dolphins, and are indeed capable of using tools with their trunks, such as tree branches as fly swatters. Elephants have also been shown to have excellent memory, keeping track of expansive geography throughout years of constant migration. Elephants have comparatively long lives, often living up to 60 to 70 years, the oldest having been recorded to reach an age of 86. Because of their immense size, elephants have an enormous impact on their surrounding flora and fauna. By uprooting trees and undergrowth, elephants can transform savannas into grasslands in a matter of hours, with their freshly dug water holes becoming attractions for other animals. Thanks to their constant feeding and migration, elephants are also important seeders, with many seeds passing through their digestive system entirely, transported miles from the point of ingestion. Many smaller animals indeed also follow the elephant's migration, such as baboons and other monkeys, as well as dung beetles, feeding on the undigested food found in the elephant's feces. While adults are rendered invulnerable to predation due to their size compared to the largest predators around, calves that find themselves separated from the herd are typically targets for predation, such as lions, spotted hyenas, and wild dogs in Africa, and the tigers of Asia. Though the biggest threat to elephants has long since been human intervention, with African elephants being listed as a vulnerable species, and the Asian elephant severely endangered with 50% population decline over the last 60 years, due to the shrinking habitats and increasing deforestation. As well as extensive hunting. Their meat, hides, and above all their tusks being the target of hunters. The dentine tissue of the tusk being known as ivory, due to its pristine white color after treatment, often treated as an exotic material formerly used in piano keys, billiard balls, and other luxury items. The word elephant itself coming from the ancient Greek term for ivory. as 1/3 of an elephant's tusk is made out of pulp, with nerves stretching to the very tip. It is effectively impossible to remove an elephant's tusk without significantly injuring and traumatizing them. With the only ivory trade legal today being taken from already dead individuals. But illegal poaching has remained a major issue in the conservation of Indian and African elephants. With a large portion of the population of India formerly dependent on the ivory trade, and bandits often illegally trading ivory and elephant meat, conducting concentrated raids and killings against large elephant populations, with more being killed for sport, often seen by wealthy hunters as the ultimate game. Since ancient times, elephants have also been thoroughly domesticated and trained by humans, often for the sake of entertainment, frequently seen in circuses and zoos until today, with many detractors criticizing the practice as inhumane and harmful for the animals. Training itself believed to cause significant physical and mental stress on the elephant, with many elephants in captivity having significantly shorter lifespans than their counterparts in the wild. Other elephants used as working animals, particularly in India, bred to haul heavy loads to remote areas, as well as used as vehicles for tourists. They are typically valued for their low maintenance and trainability, as well as the ability to work in difficult tropical environments where machinery and traditional mechanized vehicles would be unable to operate. Historically, elephants have also been used for armed combat, as formidable, often armored assault vehicles and instruments of war for generals and kings, famously by Hannibal of Carthage, who crossed the Alps with 38 elephants in a vain attempt to conquer Rome, and Ptolemy of Egypt, who enforced his rule over his kingdom with a corps of imported Asian elephants. Death by elephant was even once used by ancient rulers across Southeast Asia as a favored method of execution, asserting dominance over animals and humans alike. Often wild male elephants have proved difficult to control or predict, however, with their periodically aggressive musk behavior, leading to many elephants fiercely attacking humans when provoked. Over 100 people are killed every year by enraged elephants in India alone, with an additional 400 worldwide. Some of the attacks are even believed to be vindictive actions against hunters and villagers known to hunt or mistreat other elephants. Though often seen as a symbol for calmness, patience, and exotic nobility, their exotic qualities are also proving to be their downfall, as they are becoming pushed into oblivion, a fate brought on by a new world with little room for nature and the mighty wilderness. The days of the mighty elephant may be numbered, but until then, they remain true giants of the wild.